So, welcome to my May branding clinic. And today we're going to talk about authenticity in branding. And it's one of those things that's just been on my mind a lot because there's so much written about authenticity in branding. And I end up working with a lot of entrepreneurs who are just starting their businesses. And I think they get confused about what authenticity means in the world of branding. And that's why I wanted to talk about it. Like, there's a way in the current climate that you can't really get away with lying about anything. Like, the moment you put something out into the world, onto the internet, say in relationship to your business, if that's not accurate, you can get just slandered in social media. Like, there's a way, you can't get away. There used to be a way companies could, easier for them to do something we call greenwashing, where they create an identity that isn't actually, or they communicate things that aren't actually true. And companies and brands, no matter how big or small, are held to a different kind of standard in relationship to that. And it goes across all different aspects of their business. Like, I wanted to show you guys a graphic I created for as you all know, my business is called Brand Harmony. I have this little graphic I use in some of my promotional materials, and it talks about what bringing a brand into harmony means and is, and this relates to authenticity. Like, that when you have a vision for your business, like, that's the heart of your brand, the vision for your business. But that vision impacts a bunch of different things. The actual service you offer, what the graphics look like. You want to have all that in line with, you want to have social media and different things influencing your consumer perceptions to back up that original vision. So you need to have a certain kind of transparency and integrity, which you can see down here in the bottom, which doesn't mean anything that it's at the bottom. That's an important piece of the puzzle, that there is integrity in terms of what you're communicating around what's on offer, whatever your business is. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
What do you think about that, Dean?
Oh, no, you're going to put me on the spot.
You're here. Why not ask you?
No, I think you're right on. Anytime we work with brands, it is the fundamental question. You have to ask why you're doing this. And people increasingly, I think, in the marketplace, especially the new generation of consumers, the millennials, really care about the why.
Absolutely.
And Simon Sinek, right? He does a lot of TED Talks. If no one's ever heard of him, I know you're familiar with him.
Yeah.
He speaks on this, and he talks about powerful brands really understand their why, and they can lose their way, and then they can come back. But you really have to have that piece in place. Why are you doing this? If money was not an issue, why is this brand in the marketplace?
Yeah.
So I think you get right to that from the diagram that you put up there. If you can't answer that, you can't expect your consumers or customers to be able to answer it either.
To care, yeah.
To care, yeah.
Yeah, and if you want to, any successful company knows it's built on brand loyalty. Like, consumers have to love your product and want to keep buying it. And certain companies do that really well. Like, I use Apple as an example quite a lot, just because they appeal to me as somebody with a background in design. Like, they've always been very attuned to the design culture, and every product they release is beautifully designed on all levels, like not only the actual object but the interface that you use.
I think one of the things, speaking of Apple, because I did time there, one of the things that a powerful brand gives the company that a lot of folks don't really recognize is forgiveness in the marketplace. Mm-hmm. People will forgive Apple a misstep because they know, they're so passionate about the products and the brand. They know what the company stands for. They believe in it, right?
Yeah.
So it's sort of like, if you really have a strong relationship in the human sense and someone does something to break trust, you will tend to want to forgive them and have them earn that back. Whereas if it's a fragile relationship with a brand that's transactional only, like if Dell screwed me over, I'd go to another, computer company, no problem, right? But I'll stick with Apple through thick and thin. And that is really the power of branding over time. So
That's great. Thanks for adding that, Dean.
wasn't supposed to talk on this one.
You're such a great resource. I think I'm going to have you try to get you as a
Okay.
guest on one of these.
So that's it.
You're an informal guest today.
Okay.
Does anybody have any questions? Like, I'm curious what you guys think about this. You can just, a smaller group, and just talk. Or comments, thoughts.
I can say something if a question, I think, more than just an observation that so if you have a vision, that's something sort of like a projection of what you kind of are interested in putting out there or where you'd like to get to. But this is and the authenticity of that vision obviously is key. But I'm just thinking where I'm right now, which is more in the vision than the actual meat of it. Is there a potential disconnect there with sort of presenting a vision as opposed to a representation of where you actually are? Does that make sense what I've just said?
Well, I think if I understand you right, the way I would answer you is your vision is related to who you are. I mean, you're not your company. Like, I know you're becoming a coach. Like, your company won't be an expression of everything about you personally. But there's ways, like, what I think is, so Kate, I hope you don't mind me sharing this, but like, Katie is a pilot for Virgin Airlines. And like, so you've been working for a really well-known brand, and Branson does branding incredibly well. And if you think about like who he is and what he's created, like even on a small scale, it's the same thing for somebody, an entrepreneur creating a business, like who you are and what you really love. Like just even the idea of flying in relationship to coaching is such a great metaphor. I mean, I assume you love flying, or you wouldn't be a pilot.
So yeah. And I guess what I'm getting at is that I don't have a business yet. I'm still very much in the early stages, that presenting myself on the internet as a bona fide business, which is kind of at this point more wishful thinking than fact. Whether there's a lack of authenticity in that's what I'm getting at. I suppose, at what point do you say, well, this is, do you see, is there an issue?
I think you can present yourself as, I'm launching a coaching practice. Like, you don't have to lie about where you're at in the process. Actually, like, everybody starts somewhere.
Yeah.
And that's the other thing about authenticity is, I think most great brands also know you're always in response to your market, like your consumer. You're always growing and changing in relationship to that conversation. Like, who your consumers are will change over time for most companies. I mean, Apple just keeps adding people. Like the big brands, they're just gathering bigger groups of people. But like for me, I do a lot of this brand coaching, but I also do transformational coaching, and it's different people that come to me for different reasons. And that changes over time.
Yeah, I see much more how brand is a fluid thing. I guess I hadn't connected the dots with when you're starting out, how much you put out there, where you are in that process. So that's interesting.
Well, I don't think you have to emphasize that you're a brand new coach. I mean, I wouldn't lie about it, but you can talk about, like when I first started doing the brand coaching, I would say like what makes me qualified, even though I'm a new coach, is I've been doing branding for 25 years. Like I know branding. I might not be a super experienced coach when I was starting out, but I do understand this. And that, I mean, that was just, maybe that's not the best example, but there's things you talk about, the way you've already worked with people that qualifies you, or that the fact that you're a parent, things that, people, when they know that, there's a certain level of trust that comes.
Yeah. That makes sense.
Or like Libby, who's also on the call, is a doctor, and most people would assume like, oh, you're a doctor, like you're probably already really good with people. Do you know what I mean? As a coach, there's things you can say about your life already that just support you making a transition or an addition to what you already do.
Yeah.
Dean, you're grimacing. What do you think about?
Oh no, not at all. To take off on I think what you said, and it's interesting when we look at the energy, and I think I don't know how metaphysical you get kind of in the discussion of branding, right? In a business environment, we kind of keep that low, but the truth is,
coach, I can go there, so go for it.
Yeah, and the truth is that it is all about putting energy out, right? And when you want to create this offering and offer it to the world, and you're going to brand it so that it's visually and verbally attractive, et cetera, you're doing two things. You're trying to brand it authentically so that it resonates with who you really want to work with as clients. And you want to brand it authentically so that it also lets the marketplace know who's not right for you. And the closer you get to putting your energy, or your, in Hawaiian we call it mana, your essence out, right? The more accurate the marketplace is about the attraction of who's going to be a potential customer for you or not. And that's where the work really comes in. It's almost like therapy, right? When you work with a branding coach, the discussion really is about a lot of times the barriers, the fears, all those kinds of things. You're like, are we talking about logos? Are we talking about psychological journey and confidence and those kinds of things? They're interwoven, right? Because before you ever get to the visual or the verbal expression of a brand, you have to look at what is the essence of what you're going to offer. And there'll be people out there who will be potential customers for that. The more accurate you are in integrity with putting that forth, that part of it will take care of itself. Your job is to put that forth. And I love the metaphor. I don't know if you guys have ever heard the quote and the picture of Michelangelo and the David. I know you know it, Sandra, right? So the David, and they asked Michelangelo, supposedly, how he created something so beautiful, right? And he said, I didn't so much as create it as bring forth what God told me was already in the block of marble.
Oh, that's beautiful. I
Beautiful.
love that.
Yeah, I can send you, it's available, right? And I use that as a metaphor for the folks that I work with. And I think you have a similar kind of approach, is that you guys already have your brand within you. Maybe not 100% defined or whatever, but it already exists. So trust in that and know in that and be confident in that. And what you're working with a coach like Sandra for is to help you, like the Michelangelo, remove those pieces of excess marble to allow that David to show forth, whatever that is. It's a whole different metaphor than thinking that you have to create the David. It already exists inside of you.
That's beautiful.
You guys feel this burning desire to bring it forth into the marketplace. And you work with someone like Sandra, who's skilled in those things, like Michelangelo is as a sculptor, amazingly skilled, to kind of pull away the things that are excess to bring forth what's already there. Does that make sense?
That's exactly. You say it so much better than I do. Thank you.
No, it's a different way of looking at it, and it gives you the confidence to know that what you have for your brand is already inherent.
Yeah.
It's already within
Yeah,
you.
and I totally believe that. Like, that's all I'm ever doing with people is is
Yeah.
you're not creating something out of thin air. You're just seeing what's really there, what's on offer.
And working with someone like Sandra is a co-creation process, right?
Yeah.
It's not an expert coming in and telling you what is your David. It's an expert coming in and saying, what is it that already exists that you want to bring forth? And how do we do that together? And how do we use the tools of the marketplace to bring that forth into proximity to your target desired audience, right?
Yeah.
And those people, when they get close, whether it's on Facebook or LinkedIn or however they might see or touch your brand, they're going to feel your brand first and then decide logically whether they investigate it further. It's a feeling, emotional thing first. Then the logical brain deciphers how they're going to, uncover whether it's a fit for their needs but they have to feel you first.
Yeah. Yeah. I talk a lot about imagery for that
Right.
reason, because you just speak directly to people's unconscious. And so you want your images to create a congruent feeling to whatever your message is.
Yeah, they said that I think the visual senses, because of how we develop, about 60 to 80% of what we take in. That's why it's so powerful, right? In terms of creating why we're such visual beings and why what we see we think is what is, when really that's just an energetic representation. So you guys match up the energy of who you are and what you have with someone's expertise in terms of how to package that visually and verbally and put that forth in a marketing way. And there's no way that that's not going to succeed.
Yeah. Yeah. I never promise people that they'll succeed, but if you do what Dean just described, you have a way better chance of connecting with, clients, consumers, whatever you're doing.
I don't mean success only in the monetary sense, you guys. I mean success in the sense that you're following your life purpose,
Yeah.
what you're called to do.
Yeah.
That's what I mean. Not a job,
Yeah.
but like why you're here on the planet. That's the why.
Yeah.
Why am I here on the planet? What are my gifts? How am I to be of service? Those are the brand discussion questions, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And if you're not up to that, you're just never going to be happy in your business if you're not connected in some way to what you're up to.
So, anyway, 2 cents.
Thank you. Great. Oh, Dean. So great you're here. Great. You have a question?
I don't know if sorry, I'm squirming in my chair because I've got the computer in the wrong place. So I had this, I don't know if I told you last time, but I had this lady help me do a video.
No.
And she said that she was going to do the authentic thing. So there was a group of us and we had conversations. She's got a 3 principles background. We had some conversations. She did the video. She cut the video. And is there something like too authentic? Because the way she's done it, it's like, and I shared it with a few people that I've coached. And what I've realized is actually I'm coaching a lot of guys and also people who've got a bit of a tough guy veneer, women as well, or quite tough people who then, partly because of my background and, because I've been in the military and I've done aid work and all this sort of stuff, I kind of seem to be able to get folks like that and gradually take them onto the journey into the deeper stuff. Mm-hmm. And the way the video has been cut, it goes straight bang for the kind of really kind of deep stuff. And, my mum watched it and loved it. But my friend, but the folks that I was coaching that I shared it with went, ooh, no, that's a bit much. But I don't know. I'm going to talk to her again tomorrow. She really wants to make it work, but I don't quite know what to do now because I think she's got a vision for this as well. And I did sign up to something around authenticity, but I guess I just didn't really realize what I was getting into.
Well, it's one of those things where you need to know who you're working with. And it might be a video you show only to certain kinds of clients, not everybody.
Yeah.
Because if somebody is that tough guy, something really deep and touchy-feely may turn them off to working with you. And it sounds like you have a real gift working with those folks.
Yeah, but there is that element of the kind of journey. Like there's the things that you talk about at the beginning, and you don't. And like I'm never disingenuous, because I say we talk about state of mind and we talk about how your thinking affects your behaviour and all the stuff that we do. But I guess the way the video's been cut, there's a level of sincerity in the video, which is absolutely the way that I feel about what's possible with the coaching. But it just feels...
maybe you just need to get more comfortable with it too, because I know when I first launched my Branding Harmony website, which I spent a lot of time making it feel and sound professional, I cried all day. I felt so vulnerable, like just saying like, this is what I do, really putting it out in the world, even though I'd already been doing the work. I didn't have an online presence, and I was like shocked how vulnerable I felt. And then I was fine.
Okay.
We had one kind of rough day.
Okay.
Don't you also think that it's only you, Jane, that really knows what works with the people you work with? You've got your unique way of expressing what you've seen and helping other people. And while your video person may have a deep understanding of this stuff, that's subtly different. That's the thing about authenticity, isn't it? I mean, it's really subtle sometimes, the difference between what resonates and what feels a bit off. You know, and I think it's great to get other people's opinions, and I think it's great to sit with things, because sometimes we have a lot of thinking and we freak out about it when we first see it. But ultimately, you know better than anyone. We're all taking this work out into the world in different ways, to different groups, with our own voice. If Sydney Banks was enough, then we could just play his videos all day to people. But we all have something to bring to this, don't we? With the understanding we have of the people that we connect with. And I think, well, look, what do I know? But it seems to me, other people can give me useful advice, but ultimately, if it doesn't really land quite right with me, it's going to feel off to other people as well.
Yeah, I agree with what Libby's saying. Hey, Dean, I see. I'm just going to pause, but thank you for coming.
Thank you all.
It's great to have you here.
I'll sneak into your next one.
Great. Good.
Goodbye, all.
Thank you
Blessings.
for your comments.
Good luck with your efforts.
Bye.
Cool. Yeah.
And just for those of you, if you're not, there's several of us here who study this thing called the 3 principles, and there's some references to that. It's sort of a philosophy about life. It's the principles behind life.
Okay. So, do you have any advice or guidance for anything I could?
I mean, I'm happy to have a conversation with you and watch the video together, and we could talk about it. Because, like, I think what Libby's saying is so true. Like, if it doesn't feel right to you, you have to trust that. Your own wisdom is going to guide you.
It's one of those times where I'm not sure if it's my thinking or my wisdom, I guess. That kind of thing.
That's easy. You can just let yourself settle down on that one and then see what's left, and if it still looks off, it's probably not right. And if you settle down and suddenly it looks good, then you were just a bit stirred up about it.
Yeah. It's been 3 weeks, so okay.
It's interesting because I share a similar sort of scenario to you, Jane, in that I feel I've got different audiences. So there's an audience that's kind of sort of similar to the tough guy audience. Well, I haven't got an audience. It sounds like I haven't got an audience, but people that I sort of spend time with. that I think this could be really helpful to is the tough guy, and then much more intuitive people as well. And I'm not sure, I've got this kind of schizophrenic relationship with what is the authentic me, because I feel like anyway I sort of have a very different obviously there's only one me, but it just I have different what's the word I'm looking for, persona that comes out in different environments, so I'm not really sure which way to go, so I'm fumbling a bit. I've got two.
That's really helpful, actually. That's exactly it, because I find that I empathize and I respond to people depending on the facet of them that sort of seems to match. And with her, because of the person she was and asking the questions she asked, the way that we were talking about coaching, then all of this recording came out at quite this deep level. But that's not necessarily the way that I would first have the conversation with a potential client.
Sure.
Depending on who the client was, but quite a lot of them, it just seems to be there's this kind of these guys showing up who and it's really interesting that just seems to be what's happening, is there's more fellas that are kind of turning up for coaching than women. So
yeah, because there's something that's happened just recently. I had a client who is a pro bono and who is who's actually more, she's aging, she's tougher than I thought, and not into this stuff at all, and I kind of fell on my feet a bit. So meeting people where they are, both as a coach and sort of putting your brand out there, it seems like if you're with a client, you meet someone where they are, and then you kind of have a journey with them, and it feels like it's the same perhaps with the brand. You kind of trying to speak to the audience where they are.
But I just as a different voice in this conversation, I do find there are times when I'm having a conversation with someone and I'll be surprised what comes out of my mouth, because I do this branding work from a very spiritual perspective, but I don't necessarily talk about it that way. But like I was doing this with a group of executives at a big nonprofit, and I was surprised at some point I said something about being in alignment with God, and I was shocked it came out of my mouth. It's not even the way I normally talk, and they loved it. Like the one guy who was really a problem in the group, he was sort of the one that was very contentious about everything, and when I said that, he settled down and he got on board, and they all got along better. And I could see it was just that one moment. I was like, he needed to hear that. I would have never guessed that. So I trust what comes out in the moment. Like if it occurs to me to say something, I just kind of go with it. But it gets tricky when you put out a video, like it feels set in stone. But you never know. Like everybody has a heart and soul. You never know who that's going to touch, even these tough guys. It might just help them. I mean, do we really know? Do we really know?
Something deeper than what you're saying, or even how you're being. It's the freshness. So even if it's caught on video, if you've gone fresh to the well for wisdom, people might not be able to put their finger on what it is about it, but you can feel that, and it's different from like Sandra, and then another day you might think, oh, that was really cool, I'll use that again, but then it's not coming from the well, it's kind of regurgitated because it was good the time before, and it might not be quite the right thing that time. So I think if we're always going back fresh to the well, I mean, I find this with speaking, I can't plan very much what I'm going to say to people. I just have to trust it comes out a different way every time. But I think you can capture that on a video too.
Yeah.
Even though it's a one point in time, on video you can see if it's coming fresh or it's regurgitated and rehearsed.
Yeah, because often. Oh, do you guys hear that? I'm not going to talk. Let's see if this is better. Done. Somebody else talk. Well, what I'm going to say, I guess it's stuffed. Great. I muted myself for a little bit. One of the things I find that's going to sound really goofy, but often, because I can get really passionate about this branding conversation, the people often hire me and they have no idea what's actually on offer. Because what they feel is my passion. And they're just like, I want that. And I might sound clear. And they connect to that feeling behind what I'm saying. And then they want to work with me. And then like a few months in, like there's a client I had that we finished about a year's worth of work together, like finally told me like they had no idea what they were hiring me for. They just wanted to work with me. And it surprised me because I thought I'd spelled things out fairly clearly on my website. You know what I mean? So if there's a feeling behind it, like even if they're not connecting to what you're saying, you just never know the impact.
I mean, it's always about how we're showing up all the time, isn't it? Because, you know, I bought into your branding group, was it last year now? And I'd done loads of marketing stuff with people. I didn't think I needed branding. I wasn't interested in branding. But we'd done the small group Creating the Impossible, which I was just in the background of. I was one of the coaches, not a participant. I just, the previous summer, I'd watched you show up every week and speak authentically about whatever was showing up for you, what you were seeing. And that was enough that when you could have sold me anything, frankly, you know. You should have put a higher price offer on the table, Sandra. But I just saw it and thought, oh, it's Sandra. If Sandra's doing it, I want to do it. I don't know what it is. I don't know what I'm going to get from it. I don't care particularly. I just want to do it because I'd already seen enough of the way you showed up. And you were showing up as a participant in that group, not to sell anything to anyone. But I had already touched that deep authenticity in you. And that was enough to make me want more in whatever form you were offering it.
Oh, and you were seeing me at some of my worst moments too. That project brought me to my knees more than once. That's so sweet. Thank you, Libby. But what Libby's saying, I mean, I hope you guys understand how real that is. Like it's certainly one of my intentions to be as real as I can in a moment. But that's also part of like this whole branding thing. Like that's part of it. Like who are you really? Like any company, like I talk about Apple a lot because it's so easy to see how what was created was a direct expression of Steve Jobs. Like it doesn't matter how big the company is, the person at the top influences that brand in incredibly minute ways. So no matter what you're creating, when you're starting, like you want to follow your own interest and your own like, things that light you up and light you on fire. And like, what do you love about what you're doing or what you want to do? Those are the things you want to be talking about that are real, not made up. Because often I see people trying to create a business that's similar to something somebody else has created, but that's never going to work for you. You know, and if you're just in a business to make money, the best chance you have of being successful is to be transparent about that. Like, I'm just doing this for the money. Like, at least be honest about that. Like, I don't have anything against that, but just be real about it. Because your consumers are going to know. They're going to feel it if you're bullshitting them.
So on that note, I had like in the last couple days, well, in the last few days, I put out a Facebook ad and no one like opted in, like no one. So I was like, well, it's funny that you talk about this because I kind of came full circle with that whole process of talking about what you love. And, you know, for a while I was like, well, you know, only business coaches make money. So I'll just be a business coach and I'll just talk about that. And that's how, and I was like, okay, well, I can do it like this. I can joint venture with this company and all this stuff. And, I'm like, yeah, I can do that. I can make money. And I was just like, I'm not like, I don't feel good about this. I'm not lined up, about this. And so today I actually got back to a place where I'm like, what am I doing? That's not what I want to do. That's not even something that I'd probably be like any good at. I wouldn't be passionate about. My passion is helping single moms.
Oh,
And so a part of me is like, oh, single moms, they don't have money and stuff like that. But that's not true because I'm a single mom and I've invested a lot in myself. So,
well, I live
yeah.
in Grant County. There's lots of single moms with money.
Yeah, I mean, even the area that I live in, I think it's like the number one place for a single mom to live in the country or something like that right now. In Frisco, Texas, it's just north of Dallas.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm glad that you, because ever since, and this was just like a few hours ago that I came back to this, like, no, I love, I want to empower single moms. I've just felt that little thing in my stomach like go away. And
Like go for it. Like it sounds like you understand a lot about that.
I'm an expert at being a single mom.
Yeah. And like, why would you?
I can do that. I can
because
coach on that.
there are also there are single moms who are CEOs of companies. Like that's a big market. Like that's not a narrow niche if you're going to have a niche.
Yeah. Maybe my lead magnet kind of sucked, but I can redo that. It's easier to redo that than redo my whole coaching practice.
You can't change who you are and what you're interested in.
Exactly. So I feel so relieved, and that just like validates it and kind of cements like,
And people want to pay you for what you're really good at, what you're passionate about.
Yeah, I'm excited again.
Because that's also part of the authenticity. It's like, you want to sort of find out like what you have to offer that also other people would want. Like you have to have a service on offer that other people would value if you're trying to make money as a business.
Mm-hmm.
And I think in coaching, we sort of know that coaching has a lot of value, but like, how do you talk about that in a way that people get what the value is? So they do want to pay you.
Yeah. A tangible benefit. Yeah.
It was a great conversation. Any more thoughts or comments or questions, anything?
I think one of the things that just comes through when I think about this is the beauty of the three principles. It is so universal, and one of the things that is so compelling about it is it applies to everything, and that's one of the things that lights me up about it, is its universality. And then, of course, when it comes to branding, I suppose that can lead you astray in a way, because it is, you just see it, the potential of it. You can spread yourself too thin, but really honing in on those things that is sort of now and present, and you've seen personally affect you.
Well, learning the principles really changed how I thought even about branding, or clarified things I'd been seeing. Like this way, there's all of us, even when you're just having a casual conversation with a person, you can tell if they're being real. On some level, we all know. We can all feel it. And it's the same with companies. It's the same thing. And also just the freedom to trust your own wisdom in what you're creating. Like at the heart of the three principles, one of the core teachings is to trust your wisdom. Like look inside. Don't look to what other people are doing. Like every company that's ever created something innovative wasn't looking to the outside for what worked. They were creating from a place of, passion or excitement, whatever you want to call it. Or a deep knowing, like this is what they wanted to do. It didn't matter what other people said or what others were doing. Mm-hmm. It's a much more powerful place to create from.
Yeah. Yeah, really exciting.
And Michelle, I love that you saw that.
Yeah.
You know, you could just do what you love. Isn't that great?
Yeah, it feels way better. I mean, and it's something that, you know, I know deep down inside, but sometimes you have these ideas where you're like, well, is that divine inspiration, or is that me like looking around and acting out of fear? So,
Yeah. Yeah. And, you know, we all have little missteps here and there, whatever.
yeah.
It's certainly, like, certainly for me as a coach, my practice sometimes expands and it gets really busy, and then sometimes it gets quiet. And in those quieter moments, it's harder for me to trust that there's a reason. Like, and often, and when I look back, it's like, oh, I needed it to be quiet because something else was going on in my life and I needed more time and space. Instead of like suddenly getting on the hamster wheel and trying to make something happen. Any more thoughts or comments or anything? I did a bunch of research before. Sorry. Oh, I'm hearing my own echo. I'm reading something. Somebody else is talking. I read a bunch of stuff about what other people say about authenticity and branding. And the really big thing is just you can't, like, there's just lots of good reasons these days to be more authentic, because with social media, if you're not, it can backlash. Like, that's just part of our life these days. So Tali, you came on camera.
Hello.
Do you have any questions?
I'm just really at the start of this whole branding piece. So I've been coaching for quite a while. I'm also a therapist, but never really used a lot of it because I didn't find it helpful personally. So I stayed employed in my previous career. So I was just curious to join and listen and hear what you say. I have this similar conflict that was talked about earlier in terms of two different things. So there's working with individuals, and then my background's HR. So there's working with organizations and how I want to do that and what I want to do around culture change. And that's very different to therapeutic context. I'm finding people want to pay for therapy, and I've got a principles background as well. But people don't necessarily want to pay for coaching, or they want to do group stuff, or so it's like those are two very different markets. So it's like, do I have to have a business umbrella? But then I felt the same as was it Katie? You said you haven't got a business, so you kind of at the moment, so you kind of feel like you're putting something out there that's not really true. So I kind of feel like that about it. But I've seen a lot of other people do it in the principles community, so that's interesting. So it's really useful for me just to listen.
Yeah, it's nice. It's nice to see you. Yeah, I mean, I think having a background in HR, like, you already have a lot of understanding about people. And if I had a background in HR, I would certainly talk about it, just because, like, if you do want to work in organizations, I don't know if you want to do that, but there's just, it's an easy route to make an actual living versus trying to build a coaching business with one-on-one clients. It's just one thing I've seen people do to supplement their coaching practice. They work within organizations.
Yeah,
So
and then
you were in HR and then you were a therapist and now you're becoming
I
a
was
coach?
well, I was in management consultancy for a bit and then HR for most of my career so far. And then I trained in hypnotherapy and CBT. And I didn't find the CBT stuff was what everyone wanted, probably because the NHS here have sanctioned it. But I didn't find like it was really that helpful for people that had long-term sort of ingrained patterns of behaviour. It felt superficial to them, and a lot of them it actually felt like they'd gone through the NHS route and gone looking for private therapy, and they actually found the NHS really patronising, like sort of 22-year-old kids that were graduates with virtually no experience trying to help them. And then I came across the principles. Until February, I was working in HR part-time. But so I've had since September, I've had quite a few principals clients. They've just been clients, but I've focused mainly on the principles with them. And I've found that to be a lot more effective.
Yeah.
And now I've also the last few weeks I've spent quite a lot of time in my hometown, and I kind of want to go back. So there's a lot of like stuff changing at the moment. So
Where do you live?
I live in London, but I'm from Bournemouth. I don't know if you've heard of Bournemouth, but it's a beautiful seaside town on the south coast.
Oh.
I say town, it's probably about 200,000 people now. But it's a really, for the UK, it's just a really stunning place. There's parts of it that are really untouched and like on the outskirts. So, yeah, so if I want to move, it's like, well, actually, if I want to move, that's expensive. So then I need to get a job for a while and kind of not stay out of HR too long, at least part-time, and then just keep going with the individual clients. And then there's a longer-term plan. But yeah, I kind of need to get a website of some sort up, and I kind of don't want to do anything that I have to backtrack. So I just want to keep it simple for now. But I'm also thinking about longer term, the culture change HR piece.
Well, I think you can say that you offer a variety of things and just, talk to those different areas.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like if you were going to create a brand, like what would you say is your vision for what you're up to, no matter who you're working with or what you're doing, groups, individuals, whatever? Like what's at the heart? What motivates you?
So the resilience and clarity that I have from the principles that I didn't have before, that's made the most impact on me personally.
Well, and you can start with that. Like, that's what's on offer.
Yeah.
Resilience and clarity, and like what sort of images would resonate with that message? And then everything you write, if it has that feeling of resilience and clarity, like you don't have to keep using those words, but if it has that feeling, you start to create a very congruent impression. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah.
And because it's the principles, I think if you're involved in the 3 principles, having a certain simplicity is also a nice thing in your communications, because it's sort of the heart of the teachings.
Yeah, and I think in that work, it's almost like I don't want to specialise. Everyone says you have to specialise. When you start looking at marketing and stuff, everyone's like, you have to specialise. I don't want to.
I don't believe that. I mean, you can specialize if it appeals to you. Like Michelle was saying, she loves working with single moms. Like if you know that, like why wouldn't you follow that? But there's no reason you have to. Because it may be you just want to bring resilience and clarity to anybody who wants to work with you. Like, I think that's fine. Why not?
Yeah. Kind of clear that there's these 2 paths, but I think the bit that at the moment is like, where do I want to live? Because I think it might look quite different in London, and I'm on the south coast.
Yeah. big city to country living. It'd be very different.
So I had my clarity and resilience until I spent a couple of weeks at home. Now I still have the resilience, but not the clarity. Now I'm
The
just like,
resilience never goes.
I look at my friends and they all like sort of work part-time and, you know, spend loads of time with their partners, and they've all got these nice lives and they don't have these massive mortgages. And I'm just like, So, yeah, feels more like home.
Nice.
And I can get anywhere in 20 minutes as well, which is nice.
Yeah. Thanks for talking.
Thank you.
Oh, what do you guys think? Anything else? We've got about 5 minutes left. We can finish here. Comments, questions, thoughts? So lovely to have you all.
Maybe just a quick question, straw poll. So one of the things I really enjoyed about the 3 principles is the ability to play and to let things evolve and not be too stuck, you know, with a particular form. And that's how kind of I approached designing a website, really, is kind of just having a play. But putting stuff out there maybe naively this is just a practical question. You don't think there's any problems with putting stuff out there that is going to evolve and change, and
I don't think there's a problem with that. I mean, you just, as your vision for your business, you know, as you change, your business changes. Like I've watched my own business evolve, and not that I've really changed my website in a couple of years, but I keep adding to it. I keep adding more stuff. You know, but if at some point I started working with a different kind of client, my website might start to look different. But it's still my vision for what I'm up to. And this particular conversation, it doesn't really matter to me who I'm talking to. It's the same. Like even if my website had all different pictures, the core message probably wouldn't be that different.
Do you mind? Can I say something, Sandra? As I'm totally new as well to this. So I started playing with website stuff around September, having had no idea whatsoever. And Katie, like literally, you can knock something out in an hour, which you get a pretty picture and you add some graphics, and suddenly it looks like something. And what I found really fun about it was then this kind of tangible thing that I could almost talk to. It was like the face of my business kind of thing. And so even though my business didn't really exist, it was like Brandon was saying earlier about energy. It was almost like it was there in some way. So even though like I don't really think I've got a great website, but it's just been really fun, exactly as you were saying before, to kind of play with it. And all the people that have kind of coached, like people just see what they see on the day that they see it. So it's not like they're going to judge you for the consistency of, I don't think. So I just wanted to share that because I was amazed, because I thought, oh crap, I'm no marketing person, I've never done branding before, how am I going to do it? And I was amazed how much fun it actually was. So I just wanted to share that, like, because I know exactly the way that you're thinking.
Some people have built brands around just their brand is always changing. Like they're just having fun with it. And like every time you go, there's a different photo. Like that can be part of your brand.
Yeah, it is really fun. I like what Jane said about the energy, because it's like a visual. It feels a little bit more like the stuff that's in your head. Is less tangible, but when you start seeing it, it kind of reinforces it, and it's sort of different energy to it, and it is fun. I just wonder if I'm being a bit naive, not being a millennial, I think is what your friend, or not being of a certain generation. I'm like putting stuff out there, I'm thinking,
the millennial generation is particularly interested in transparency and like the companies are doing good in the world. Like they're very focused on that. Like I know a lot of young folk who would never take a job with a company that, like Monsanto, who has done some questionable things. Like they would only work for something they perceived as really good.
The other thing is that all those startups have that kind of mantra about launching ugly, don't they? So you launch ugly and then you iterate, and then you launch ugly and then you iterate, which I know is a different world, but it is a viable business kind of model.
Well, most startups don't have any money to spend on things, so they just launch, and then at some point they get funding, and then they do some serious branding. Like Airbnb did that. It was fun to watch. Like at some point they had big backing and they did a real large branding.
Do you think, going back to that Michelangelo quote, that you kind of launch when you've chipped away a bit of the marble?
Yeah.
Just kind of carry on chipping away and finding what's inside.
Yeah, you just keep going deeper. Like it gets more like when I love that, because I feel it in my own business. Like as I get clear about what I'm doing, it feels like if I was creating a sculpture, it's becoming more refined just over time.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have to get Dean to send me that quote so I can post it. Well, thanks you guys. This is a really great call. Appreciate you all showing up and a wonderful conversation. And I hope to see you again next month. Next month, I'm going to have Terry and Joe Alamo, and they do all sorts of support services for coaches and other entrepreneurs. They do websites. They help you run webinars. They do all kinds of stuff. Anyway, it'll be fun to be in conversation with them about what they're up to. Wow.
Thank you.
Anyway, if you have any questions, just send me an email.
Okay.
Thanks, you guys.
Thanks.
See you next time.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks. Bye.